All right, everybody. Joe here with IFG. We're back for week 13 of our Swordplay challenge. This week, we're going to talk about probably the most controversial, the most vehemently debated technique in all of the longsword tradition. That is the Geisel, or the one-handed strike. Okay, but why is it the most reviled technique? What makes this so universally despised? A lot of people say it's not historical, it's not traditional. We know that's not the case because it does show up in a panel in Talhofer. Fiore has entire sections on the longsword in one hand, so that can't be it. Personally, I think the most compelling argument is that this technique does not form the core of any given section in any longsword treatise. It's not a powerful cut that way. It just shows up in single panels every so often. I think the more real problem, though, is that it feels cheap. Fighters don't expect it. It feels like a strike that should be off limits because they don't know it's coming. They don't know how to defend it. And one of the really compelling arguments I've heard against it is that people who use it don't properly train it. It can be wild, it can be uncontrolled, it's hard to stop, and it is really hard to get good edge alignment with one of these cuts. So, the challenge for this week is to take this cut that so many people hate and learn to love it. We're going to spend some time drilling it. We're going to do tons of reps, and we're going to focus on edge alignment and making sure that when you do throw this nasty, nasty cut, that it's a good martial cut that will inflict pain and suffering upon your enemies. Here we go. All right, so my favorite tool for training this one-handed cut is my best friend, the Pel. You can see here I've given our friend the Pel a nice little appendage. Might be hard to see, but I've dangled a length of twine here. Twine's good because it's not too heavy, it's not going to be interrupted by your cut, and it's not going to cause any problems on the follow-through of your cut should you miss. But what's great about this, as you can see, hangs down, gives me both the aspect of an opponent. I can move, I can train dynamically as though I'm actually engaged in a bout. And I also have a nice target that's right around where their lead leg might be if we were in combat. All right, now there are a few things you need to remember when you're throwing this cut. The first is that it's so easy to telegraph it, and you can't do that. You never want to lean into it like this, because if they see it coming, they're going to smack you right in the head. I find this is best used when you can really trick your opponent into thinking you're going high and aim low. If you watch people do this, one of the worst things that people do is when they throw it, they lean in and their head goes low. Not only is that dangerous for your cut, you're opening up the back of your head. It's a great way to get concussed. So one of the best ways to do this is make sure you are stepping in, throwing, but also getting your head and shoulders away from your opponent, like this. Your left shoulder is staying anchored, so you're not actually losing any ground in this process. You're merely moving the bulk of your body away from any strike that's going to come in after you throw it. Now let's talk about the mechanics of this cut, all right? Almost always you want to throw this from a high guard. Your Vomtog, your posted Donna, even throw it from your big high, this Tog or Raf. But as you come up, this hand is coming off, and you are throwing the sword that way, holding it with the base of your left hand or your offhand. Also best to do this with a step forward with your left leg, not with a big passing step with your off leg. And the last, most important part about this technique is most people, when they see it coming, or if you hit them with it, they're going to come after you with a vengeance because it is infuriating to get struck in the shins. So, you're never going to be able to launch a great counterattack after you've done this. But one of the most important things you can do is to get your weapon back in play as quickly as possible. So, after I've thrown this cut, I make sure that I bring the weapon back around, my right hand back, so that I'm making solid, firm contact with the sword as quickly as possible. I'm never trying to end in any sort of threat because it's going to be loose, it's going to be noodly, it's going to be easily batted away. I want to end in a position where I am presenting menace and imminent threat if anyone's going to rush in at me. Sometimes you can even throw it to bait them, get them to step in, and follow with a Zornhauer and Oberhauer right down the middle at them as they're rushing in to take advantage of what they thought was a missed leg shot. All right, for your challenge. First part of your challenge this week, I want 20 solid Geisels at a target. And I really want you to have something that allows you to gauge your accuracy, because this is so hard to tell whether you're going to hit or not. You might think it's great. You can do it in the backyard with no target and think you're throwing great cuts, and in actuality be missing by 1-2 inches. So come up with something like this. Doesn't have to be as gorgeous as this, but I want you to have a target, something that's going to give you physical feedback as you throw 20 of these cuts. That was a miss, see? Wasn't paying attention. That's why it is so important to have this feedback tool here. Also, be dynamic, move, change your measure. You want to be able to use this in practice. All right, so that's your main one. 20 reps of those. Focus on your targeting. Don't count the bad ones, only count the good ones. All right, so if you've done that, awesome. But that drill does not address one of the fundamental issues with this cut, which is that maintaining edge alignment when you throw it is incredibly difficult. And there's very little feedback that you're going to get knowing whether you did it or not. So I'm by no means good at this, but the best way to test this is with an actual sharp sword. All right, so here we go. Check it out. Wasn't a great cut. Didn't get rid of the bottle entirely, but nice clean slash across it. Clearly my targeting could have been a little deeper, but the solid line would have left a nice meaty gash on my opponent's leg. Next time we'll do better, go for the whole bottle. All right, so as you guys saw, even though I hit that, the bottle went flying away. It's because it is a very, very hard cut to maintain edge alignment. I'm pretty pleased with the fact that I even got a solid slice on it, but that's why we train this, to make it effective and martial when we pull it off in practice. So for now, focus on your 20 reps of just targeting, trying to hit that string, whatever. Make sure that you're in range and actually connecting with your opponent. Once you feel confident with that, try to level it up and work on edge alignment. If you've got access to a sharp water bottles, it's really all you need. All right, thanks. See you next week.